How does practicing self-compassion build our resilience, you may ask? And it is a really excellent question, and I think a really clear way of kind of describing it would be for me to give you an analogy. So if you just imagine a small child and you've asked them to paint you a picture, and they say, okay, I'm going to paint you a picture of a dog. And what they're aiming for is to produce this picture that is just so good that you're going to give them lots of acknowledgement and praise. But instead of, so they settle down and spend a lot of time and effort, drawing this picture for you. And then when they produce the picture and hand it to you, you kind of look at it and you say, that's meant to be a dog? I don't think so. It hasn't even got a tail. It looks more like a little cat. I think you can do much better than that. Do it again. So that child that was working so hard to impress you, suddenly feels really disappointed and maybe even embarrassed and ashamed. And the message they've received there is, it's not good enough. I'm not good enough. And we do this to ourselves time and time again with our inner critic. So it's about berating ourselves when we fall short of our own expectations. More often than not, these are standards that are so high that we're almost aiming for perfection. And so when we don't reach it, we criticize and beat ourselves up. So when you think about it, if you imagine that analogy with the child, how do you think that impacts on their resilience? Well, negatively, of course, that's right. So, would you have the motivation? Would that child have the motivation to try again? The inspiration? Would it have the creativity, the courage and the spirit to sit down and draw another dog? Well, probably not. So what we're trying to do with self-compassion is, if you imagine that little child again, so instead of the criticism and instead of the put-downs, you're going to be kind to that child and supportive and encouraging. So even while they're drawing it, you say, wow, that looks really great. Yes, I can see it looks very like a dog. And you would say to that child at the end, well done, you did your best. And you would notice the good that they'd done. And if they've made a mistake, with the picture, well, you would allow it, because that's okay. And a lot of the time, I think in life, I can talk for myself, we can look for external validation of what we're doing. We're looking outside of ourselves to others for that praise and recognition, when really the most important person that we can receive that validation from is ourselves. And I truly believe that. And I know that over the years, the 2 years that I've worked here at Stirling City Radio, and I remember the days when I first started, and I was terrible to myself at the beginning. When I left a show, I was going through every mistake that I'd made and said, oh my God, it was like the end of the world. I just thought, oh, I don't know, if this is for me. And so basically this is how self-compassion can help us to become more resilient, because it allows us to make mistakes. The self-judgment goes. You get rid of the self-judgment. I mean, of course, it's always there to, an extent, but we can manage it and we can respond to it as well. When that judgment comes in, we can answer back and say, I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think I actually deserve that feedback. So it helps us to develop more of a growth mindset, which is more where we allow ourselves to make mistakes and learn from them. My classic one here at the radio, it's always quite embarrassing, but I used to keep leaving the microphone on, and when you leave the microphone on, anyone in the people out there listening can hear whatever's going on in the studio. And I used to get phone calls from my mum saying, "You've left your mic on," and I was mortified, but needless to say, nowadays I do not leave the mic on. So yes, this next song is for one of my, as I mentioned, my new fan over in Leverkusen in Germany. It's a great one. It's by Seal and it's called Crazy.